What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Vince McMahon's new Megastar, WWE's plans for Charlotte Flair backfire, did WWE reveal the winner of the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, Vince McMahon's plans for Raw and SmackDown, Scott Hall's social media meltdown, Matt Riddle's backstage heat, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. But let's waste no further time and get straight into our first story, as Vince McMahon's new Megastar has been revealed. Now, Vince McMahon's mercurial mind is something that has been a problem for many years. One moment he's high on something like Cedric Alexander or Ricochet, and the next moment they're counting the lights on Main Event. However, one superstar in particular on the Red brand has caught Vince's eye recently, and he sees big things in him. Who is this superstar? Well, it's NXT superstar Brendan Vink, who's been teaming with Shane Thorne on the Red brand. Vince reportedly loves this guy, wants to push him to the moon as a big star. Also, management have been keeping a close eye on him since his work in Evolve Wrestling. Mike Johnson of PW Insider recently revealed, Brendan Vink has been a project in the developmental territory for some time. Evolve had him where they were using him to build him up. He would have been given a bigger push in Evolve if they hadn't been shut down. One person described it to me that it was kinda like when Braun Strowman was part of the Wyatt family when Vince McMahon saw him as a long-term project to build for the future. That's kinda where they are with Brendan Vink to build him up as a long-term project. Well, he certainly has the look Vince loves, so there's no telling how big he could be. Just look at Braun Strowman. He's now WWE Universal Champion. Could we see Vink in a few years being the same? Next up, WWE's plans for Charlotte Flair backfire. Now, the whole idea surrounding Charlotte Flair's win at WrestleMania 36, winning the NXT Women's Championship, was to get her on the show permanently and attempt to boost the show's mediocre ratings. Sadly though, this hasn't worked, and Dave Meltzer recently pointed out that a match with Mia Yim performed abysmally in the ratings. The Charlotte Flair-Mia Yim match was actually a low point. It did 170,000 in 18-49, which is dreadful. It was the second lowest point of the show, the Charlotte Flair match. That is a story because obviously it's Charlotte Flair, and she's there to put numbers up, and you know that there are people waiting to see if it'll work or not. With Io Shirai it may work, but with Mia Yim, obviously it didn't. It's such a shame as the match was actually solid, and it seems like they just wasted Riley's momentum just for a plan that didn't even work. The problem with Charlotte Flair is that she's become the Brock Lesnar of the women's division. There's no surprise surrounding her title matches. You just know the outcome and only a few will stick around for the match. Now, we could go into great length, but we'll save it for another video. Next up, did WWE reveal the winner of the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match? Now, this is a minor spoiler, so you might want to skip ahead to the next story. Now, fans and wrestling pundits are wondering whether the WWE accidentally revealed the identity of the winner of this Sunday's Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. According to Ringside News' Felix Upton, during Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted that the WWE might have given away the finish for their big ladder match. It was stated that Lynch is going to confront the winner of the Money in the Bank match. If this happens, then the winner will likely be from Raw. It's also possible WWE wanted to swerve its fans, as it's well known for working swerves into social media and television for fans to pick up on. What do you guys think? Was this a mistake or just a work? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Vince McMahon's plans for Raw and SmackDown. Our fans are curious whether the current storylines and shows in Raw and SmackDown are what the WWE has in mind for the future, as the shows, particularly Raw, have been all over the place, with a number of new stars showing up but often going nowhere. Recently, PW Insider's Mike Johnson discussed what he's heard from inside WWE headquarters. A lot of people have said that if there's one person to blame for the show, it's gotta be Vince McMahon. I spoke to a lot of people in the last week and said, why do you think the show is just there and it's just kind of wondering, and there's not a lot of excitement to it and not a lot of spark, and 3 different people said to me, the show you are seeing is the show Vince McMahon wants you to see. Of course, there's no such thing as long-term plans for Mr. McMahon, as he's well known for dropping storylines and killing pushes without a second thought. Next up, Drew McIntyre talks a possible opponent. A current WWE champion Drew McIntyre was recently interviewed by Vibe and Wrestling, and amongst the topics discussed were future opponents. McIntyre listed some big names, saying, "We'll get so many times people mentioned at referred names like Randy Orton and Edge, so far like Jinder Mahal. I want to make him to go on a winning streak first before we even consider it. Somebody that's not there right now, hopefully he can dig himself out of the ground, is AJ Styles." Now of course this interview was before he appeared on Raw last night, but now that Styles is back, you can count him on gunning for a title shot. The WWE needs some strong opponents for Drew if they want him to get over with the fans, or he could end up like Seth Rollins did last year when he was booked into a meaningless and long program with Baron Corbin. Next up, Scott Hall's social media meltdown. Wrestlers and social media go about as well together as wrestlers and drugs, with retired and active superstars often ending up with their foot in their mouth. Let's take a look at the latest social media shit show, this time involving Scott Hall. Wrestling Inc. is reporting that Hall had choice comments for Ring of Honor star Session Moth Martina, who responded to a tweet that asked, "What comes to mind when you think of this man?" The photo in the tweet was of Hall, and Moth Martina replied, "He once offered to buy me a boob job on Twitter but never followed through." The tweet caught the eye of Hall, who responded with, "You need a personality transplant, you dumb bitch." Martina replied, "Ha, Uchi Mama, #fancies Martina." However, Hall's tweets were deleted along with his Twitter account, leading fans to wonder whether what's next from the bad guy. Next up, Undertaker The Last Ride dates have been announced. Undertaker fans are looking forward to the WWE Network's limited series, Undertaker The Last Ride, which details the Phenom's life leading up to WrestleMania 33, which at the time appeared to be his retirement match. The schedule for the program is as follows. Chapter 1 is this Sunday on May 10th, immediately following Money in the Bank at approximately 10 PM. Chapter 2 is Sunday, May 17th on demand beginning at 10 AM, Chapter 3 the next Sunday, and so forth, up until Chapter 5 which airs on Sunday, June 21st. The WWE are also planning to show a closer look into Taker and Vince McMahon's relationship backstage. The only thing weird about this is that we see Vince McMahon in a t-shirt, and whenever you see Vince McMahon in a t-shirt, it kinda looks strange. We always thought of him wearing a suit even to bed. Next up, Jericho talks getting shortchanged at WrestleMania 18. WWE superstars look forward to working WrestleMania for a number of reasons, one of the biggest being the hefty paycheck they can pull in. However, as Chris Jericho revealed on his Talk is Jericho podcast, that's not always the case. While fans likely remember WrestleMania 18 best known for the Icon vs Icon match between The Rock and Hollywood Hulk Hogan, they may not remember that Chris Jericho and Triple H ended that year's Showcase of the Immortals. Definitely a big mistake, as that Icon vs Icon match should have gone on last, but despite that, Jericho says he received much less than he expected.
It was The Rock versus Hogan that was the real main event, 18, but we were on last, and then in a passing conversation between he and I found out that he got 4/5 of the pie of the payoff of the match, and I got 1/5. And I was furious because, and you explained what Vince's theory was when somebody, a hot babyface is going to win, that people are going to pay money to see him win, and that's more important than the actual foe that he's in the ring to face.
And the story has a happy ending, as Vinnie Mac later sent Jericho a check to make up for Jericho's light payday. Next up, a Necessary NXT Call-Up. If you're curious why the Forgotten Sons are on SmackDown, it turns out it's more of a case of necessity than one of the WWE feeling it was time for them to move up from NXT. As WrestlingNews.co's Andrew Ravens explained, Dave Meltzer noted on the latest episode of the Wrestling Observer Radio that Wesley Blake, Steve Cutler and Jackson Ryker were brought up to the main roster to replace the Usos in the storyline. With any luck, the WWE will give the Sons an opportunity to get over, and not just use them as a convenient team to job to the New Day at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And finally, Matt Riddle has no malice towards other superstars. Matt Riddle has come under fire for criticizing main event players such as Goldberg and promising to end Brock Lesnar's career. However, Riddle recently defended his comments as nothing more than his efforts to project his persona. In an exclusive interview with Sportskeeter's Matt Cassidy, Riddle explained, "Do I have heat with WWE or NXT or the people that run the show? No. Do I have heat with some people who think I'm disrespectful at times because they don't understand how the business works? Yeah. Do people take things too seriously? Yes. And honestly, I had to give talks at NXT. It's not like I stopped the place, but it's like interjecting. I'm like, hey, I'm going to tweet or say something that offends you." Realize I'm not trying to actually offend you, I'm just trying to make people think I am. I'm putting out an image, a facade, you know? He also seems comfortable with how management views his promos and work. I was in Vince McMahon's office just 3 weeks ago before this thing broke out. I was in headquarters talking to him, and yeah, we mentioned the heat I have with certain people, but at the end of the day he signs the checks. He makes it happen for me and they're in control, not the talent. If employers are happy and I can make them money and make them a profit, I'm worth my weight and I'm pulling my weight. I don't see a problem. If the WWE was unhappy with Riddle, one thing he would have done was join the small army of released wrestlers from 15th April's Black Wednesday. Being a wrestler is all about getting over, and if Riddle is getting over without upsetting management, he must be doing something right. But there you have it guys, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.